Fantastic. So let me just make sure I have mouse control to move these.
You could just click. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So what I like to do first is, I've been on webinars in the past when acronyms were used, and presenters like me have a tendency to forget that the audience really doesn't know the fancy pants words we use. So I wanted to go over these 3 terms you'll hear me talk about today. First of all, IT asset management is managing the connected assets, the hardware, the software, and their life cycle from procurement to retirement. And this includes, but it's not limited to, the discovery, identification, who owns it, what role the asset plays, and how important it is to the business in terms of delivering business services. And IT service management, the larger umbrella under or over IT asset management, is about managing the problems, right? The requests, the changes, the incidents of those assets, and helping the users that are utilizing those assets. And configuration management database is really a complete and accurate, up-to-date database of all the assets, integrated with a strong discovery and dependency mapping tool that provides that detailed contextual business information, and should be fully integrated as part of your ITSM solution. So now that we got those acronyms out of the way, let's get into the meat of my presentation. So prior to COVID-19, we had it good in the office, right? We had free coffee, we had our water cooler discussions, we had Taco Tuesdays, and the company had an endless supply of toilet paper. We had pretty good control of our IT environment. We mostly worked from the office, and our business services were relatively predictable. They were performant, they were managed, and relatively secure. We had some monitoring tools, and if you have a CMDB or an ITSM solution like Matrix 42, ServiceNow, or Sharewell, without discovery and dependency mapping, you had an inaccurate information, which means your network maps were inaccurate, they were statically defined, and were probably not up to date for at least the last few months. So if we look at the IT asset, whoops, let me go back one. I think I went 1, 2. Can you do me a favor? There we go. If we look at today's IT asset management landscape, we can't get away from work, right? We have to pay for our own coffee, and I can't believe how many Keurig pods I actually go through. And we're all out of toilet paper, at least we are here in the US. And some of us are using our personal devices, our tablets, our phones to actually get our work done. And meanwhile, our kids are at home, they're streaming, they're playing video games, and probably causing this webinar to be a little choppy. And I actually might sound like Max Headroom from MTV if your kids are playing games right now. So it's sometimes harder to get support as IT and the help desk struggle with these new changes, with these remote work policies. So the IT teams are scrambling to upgrade their VPN appliances, and they're making constant changes to address the new work from home policies. And your IT service desk agents are overwhelmed with calls from us, the employees, who can't seem to get things to work from home. Oh, and guess what? We're still using those statically defined network maps, and our CMDB and ITSM solutions are still inaccurate and out of date. All right, so IT asset management and IT service management complexity, it just got worse, right? When we're in the middle of this pandemic, we have lots of lots of devices that are trying to access, our business services, and we have these unknown, unsecured, and unprotected devices that now need access to our networks, and that poses new security threats, just like Chris Sherman, mentioned earlier. And we'll now need to discover these devices that hit your business services so that we can ensure that they're authorized to do so. And the help desk agents now have a more complex environment to troubleshoot, right? Our support agents, help desk agents, I mean, we have to include those employee home networks. We got multiple home internet service providers now. And the more contextual data that we provide to the CMDB and ITSM solution by discovery and mapping will help get to the root cause faster. And those static spreadsheets, the maps and monitoring tools alone, they can't fill that discovery and dependency map gap. All right, so at Firescope, what we do is we use this IT asset and service management maturity model to sort of gauge where our prospects, where our customers are at, and help them build a program to get them to the highest maturity level here. So your ability to respond to today's new IT service management landscape really depends on your organization's service management maturity level. And each of these levels have to be achieved in sequence to get to the full maturity. In other words, you can't get to the next level without achieving the previous level. So analyst research says that 80% of organizations are only at level 0. So if you're at level 0, your asset data is in static spreadsheets and in disparate tools, maybe in a monitoring tool, for example, but it's not integrated into your ITSM or your CMDB solution. So that's pretty scary, having a pretty high number of companies out there that really don't have a proper program in place. So let's play this out. If you're at level 0, okay, your triage process consists of multiple phone calls. You'll have partial and inaccurate data, which leads to slower problem resolution, right? Your mean time to repair is a lot slower than it should be. So this adds more workload to an already overworked help desk and support staff with increased costs associated with every single incident that they have to manage. But however, once you get to level 1, important asset intelligence that once took multiple phone calls is now immediately right in front of the help desk agent, right? Making them more productive and providing important contextual data, which reduces that mean time to resolve and makes the most important users, more productive, right? The users are really the most important asset that we can manage here. And we're trying to make their lives a lot easier by ensuring those business services are up and running and we can, fix their problems as quickly as possible. So again, at level 2, if we go up, the maturity level here, the critical decision-making intelligence is being provided about your assets across your organization, such as their dependencies to the lines of business, and that's required to deliver, the services. So now that you have an idea of your business service and the dependencies, you know what needs to be running or protected in order to ensure that service is up and running. So this intelligence can be used in multiple ways. Number one, to improve your support staff, and it can be used to improve your overall end user productivity. Now, once you're at level 3, you then can start to monitor the performance of the important assets, the applications, the response time to these applications, and provide a more proactive service management experience, right? If you're doing level 1 and level 2, you're getting to be more proactive, but once you start to monitor the business services for their health, their availability, you can start getting ahead of those problems before they become an issue with your customers. So when you're proactive and you have that proactive service management experience, you can identify potential infrastructure performance issues that can actually degrade the user productivity, and we don't want that. We want user productivity. So at level 4, you start to align your IT service management practice with real business objectives and help mitigate risk, because now you know your assets, how important they are, what role they play within the organization, and then can start to identify areas in your infrastructure that might be single points of failure or that are having tons of problems that you can now mitigate and manage that risk. So let me ask you something. So regardless what level you think you are, one thing is that a strong discovery and dependency mapping solution integrated with your CMDB and ITSM solution will get you to level 2 and well on your way to full maturity. Now, before I go to the next slide, ask yourself where you think your maturity level is, and then ask yourself what level do your executives expect you to be, and most likely there's a pretty large gap there between those two expectations. So what benefits does a mature IT asset management and service management program provide? So you get complete visibility, right? Your spreadsheets, your multiple documents, your disparate tools, they're not the answer. Visibility begins with persistent discovery that can see beyond the firewalls and the network segments, right? You can't secure what you can't see. So you've got to have a very robust discovery tool. And you get improved security. Your security posture, as Chris was talking about earlier, it'll improve because you'll see all the devices hitting your network, including those outside the firewall, which could be your end users using their own personal devices to now access critical information. So you'll see everything that hits your network, and those things can actually pose security risks or threats that could be targeting sensitive data. So if you're able to discover those devices and how they're communicating throughout the infrastructure or your organization, you can start to see maybe some patterns of maybe some lateral movement, for example, and things like that. So it's really important to be able to see those assets as they communicate on the network in real time. Overall efficiency, your support teams, right? They'll have more contextual business impacting and dependency data so they can identify the root cause and improve that service delivery. And think about this, your self-service portals can provide a more personalized service, right? Improving that customer satisfaction and overall productivity. So think about, as a user, I log into that self-service portal, I can now see me and how I access those business services and which ones are having problems, and I can make some pretty quick decisions on whether I want to open an incident or not open an incident, because it looks like, hey, they've got it all taken care of, they know that business service is down, and they know it's impacting me. So that's some pretty powerful stuff when you start to incorporate IT asset management, discovery, and dependency with your ITSM solution like a Matrix 42. Now, another thing is you can stay in compliance, right? You'll stay in compliance by baselining and monitoring the changes of those assets, the changes in the dependencies. So you can review those changes and take action with your change, your security, and your compliance review boards, right? These are things and actions we have to take in order to stay in compliance with some of these regulations, whether it be, PCI DSS, it be HIPAA, it be GDPR. These are things that have to be done. And finally, optimize costs, right? You can save money by avoiding overspending, because if you know where all your assets are, you might know where your extra inventory is, and instead of buying a new particular device, you can utilize something that might be in a closet somewhere. But you can improve the call to agent ratio as well, and reduce the infrastructure complexity and identify waste and get rid of that waste. So what are the essential features for full visibility and to really have a real mature IT asset management or IT service management program? Well, let me tell you an interesting story about an online shopping service that generates 200 million in annual sales. So they have plans to migrate this business service, right, the online shopping service, from one data center to another, and that's next week. And using traditional discovery methods and tools, the company thinks that they have what they believe to be an accurate dependency map. And that includes all the network devices, the web servers, the app servers, the database servers required to deliver this service. However, twice a month, infrastructure support will use a VPN, log in to a jump host, and then hit those servers to resolve some problems, on those servers. So both the VPN and the jump host were not even accounted for in this, approved service map or their migration plan. So that's a pretty big miss if you think about it. In addition, here's another scenario. Every Thursday night, the company runs a special promotion for an hour. And during this time, a web server is temporarily vMotioned from one vCenter to another vCenter to accommodate the spike in the load, and then it's vMotioned back after the promotion is over. But unfortunately, the data they are using, to plan the migration does not include this dependency of the second vCenter. So their discovery tools never picked up this vital dependency. And these are critical mistakes in their migration planning, which will potentially cost them millions of dollars due to inefficiencies of their current discovery tools. So why did these tools, or these discovery tools, miss these critical assets and dependencies? Well, good question, audience. Most discovery products they periodically scan networks on a scheduled interval, multiple times a day by actively polling devices that respond on the network. However, this discovery method alone will not discover IP addresses outside of the configured, subnet ranges of a scan, and will not see IP addresses assigned to the infrastructure support user, right? That guy that logged into the VPN, hit the jump host, and then use that jump host to solve problems on those servers. So because active discovery is only run periodically, that vCenter used during the promotions will also be missed, resulting in an inaccurate migration plan. So, but there are other discovery tools that might use a passive discovery approach, and they look at network flows to find the application dependencies. They may pick some of this stuff up, but what they do is they instruct the users of these tools to do the initial discovery of the application and scan it, but they want you to shut it down after the initial scan because it's so much data that has to be processed. Think about all those network flow packets that have to be processed. Well, this method will only provide a snapshot of the dependencies for a brief moment, right? A brief moment in time, and will also result in a complete, incomplete service map, missing the vital VPN and jump host assets. So Firescope baseline service maps, they persistently observe the service dependencies changing over time. And this helps us gather even the unsuspected dependencies and the intelligence critical to successful data center migrations, or even just reliable service delivery and support. So let's look at the lower map on the bottom right-hand corner here. So Firescope has 4 unique layers of dependency. Application, which comes from the network flows that we're listening to, virtualization, network, and storage. And these are 4 key layers that need to be monitored at all times for changes. Now, this map is a baselined map. It's a snapshot in time, and it allows the changes to be constantly observed at all 4 layers. So when that web server is vMotion to that second vCenter, Firescope will show that new dependency change in the baseline map, and it'll be visualized in that layer. And then Firescope will also see the traffic from the support user going to the VPN and then to the jump host, and you'll see that at the application layer. So these baseline map changes could actually be used to then alert users, right, when there's a change, so that you can review and approve these new assets as dependencies as part of that baseline. And any new unsuspected, unauthorized, or authorized changes can be observed moving forward to ensure service delivery. All right, so let me talk about some recommendations here. First of all, you've got to make your IT asset management and your IT service management programs a really high priority in your organization, especially during these times when you have so many unsecured, unknown devices now hitting your network. It has to be a priority. So make sure you do that. You've got to get visibility, and the only way you can get real visibility is with real-time, persistent, and passive discovery, along with that dependency mapping at the 4 layers. So that'll ensure you don't miss the critical assets required to either support or maintain a business service, right? Or even during your digital transformation or cloud migration, you're not going to miss those critical assets. And more importantly, or one of the most important things, is you have to integrate your discovery and dependency mapping with your CMDB and your ITSM solution, because that's where you really get the value, right? Your IT support and your service desk agents are going to be, informed with the latest information, and they'll be able to solve issues a lot faster and prevent, incident storms as well. You also need, that visibility of all your assets, so you can regularly, kind of review those changes with your change management boards, security teams, and your IT teams, and to be compliant, record those actions you're taking, right, to mitigate those risks or to validate those changes, and that'll help you stay in compliance. And what I would just ask you is again, reach out to Firescope Matrix 42, and we can help you assess your IT asset maturity, and then customize a program for your needs, and maybe take one of our interactive workshops, for example, to learn more about ITIL best practices and how Firescope and Matrix 42 can help you achieve a mature IT asset management and IT service management program. So thank you very much.